the checklist is more or less like for those who are religiously inclined, like your Bible, to guide you in what you do. And the first commandment of that Bible for our checklist, of course, is whatever you're going to do for Gorilla Highlands in terms of content, please think visually. Think about photos and images. How are you going to tell that story in photos and images? Which image do you think will bring the story out the most? That is the first thing you need to think about. And then also you need to, when you're taking photos and images, please remember that the people in your photos and images are humans and they have their rights. So please try to make sure that they are okay with you using the images once you take them. Always ask them, are you okay with me using your image, and explain to them where the image will go. I think most people are more or less okay with their image being used as long as it is not going to embarrass them or it's not going to be used for a bad purpose. But it's important because it protects also you, the person who has taken the image, and of course the platform. Otherwise, someone can actually reach out to either Instagram or Facebook and say that image is me and I did not give my permission, and that could result into a lot of problems like the platform being suspended, the account being suspended, or worse. So that is something to keep in mind. But then also, as to commandment number 2, as you're thinking of images, also think about the story you want to tell when you're out collecting content for GHE. So when I say think of the story you want to tell, try to put yourself in the mind of how would you tell your best friend or your partner or maybe even a child about what you saw. The way you tell them what you saw is how you should try to write when you're writing, because you are writing for human beings, people who want to be entertained. So your story should try to be as entertaining as possible, but always also, of course, factual. So
And
that is
if you are,
something.
I just wanted to
Please
add,
go ahead.
since most of you are tour guides, it definitely helps you most if you imagine telling the story to one of your guests, because their understanding, their interests, their background knowledge is different to somebody who is from this country. So we need to always keep in mind that the outside audience is our primary audience. We need to be accessible to everybody, but when in doubt, you know, my favorite thing about Ugandans is when they start saying things like "obote tu," and then a foreign visitor has no clue what that is. That is like just one of the many instances where people forget that not everybody is conversant with the local lingo.
True, very true, and a good example. That, and of course also referring to something as like a Rolex, and then I'm going to go and get a Rolex, and throwing confusion to among visitors about how a street level Ugandan can afford one, a very expensive item. But yes,
Levi, do you know what the Rolex is globally? Levi,
Yeah,
what is a Rolex in Europe?
I don't know it.
It's a very expensive watch. So whenever you talk to an outside visitor and you say Rolex, they think a watch, and you, of course, I think something else.
yes, that's another quite good example. And then also, of course, as you're telling your story, please remember to try and tell it in the simplest, using the simplest language you can use, because you're trying to reach as many people as possible. And also, of course, when you're talking to your friends, I don't think you look for big or difficult words to try and convey your story to them. I think you even use slang, you even use what they say sometimes, not strictly English words, but what you know is can reach your audience. So that is very important. Don't think that now the checklist is going to say you're going to write university English or something like that. No, 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 please. This is simple, clear language that is needed for anybody to read and enjoy. Actually, the most enjoyable writing is usually the simplest, at least for most people.
I mean, it
So
just
that is,
happens so that people, when they start writing, they think that now they need to be more formal, that they need to sound more advanced. All that you should throw away when you're writing for us. Just write as you speak. We can always improve it, we can always correct it, but don't try to be somebody else.
I think something that would be useful for you to keep in mind is that social media is not that different from your local kafunda or your local bar or even a small restaurant that you go to regularly. Think of it as walking into your local kafunda, your local bar, your local restaurant, or even just stopping to sit on a stool next to Mama Jane or someone who cooks your lunch every day. That is what social media is. So do not take it so seriously. Do not think that you have to put on a suit and tie and impress. Be yourself. Actually, what makes you stand out on social media is how unique you are and how much of yourself you're willing to put out. And that's what we need you to do in your writing. Be as unique as you can be. And in relation to that point, the next one I would urge you to keep in mind is try to look for unique things about the places where you are or what you're writing about. Like for example, if like we did the story on Chisoro. Chisoro is a big town, but what makes your writing unique is you focusing on Joseph's establishment and actually going deep into that. Not everybody knows, for example, that the coffee pot had expanded all the background of the coffee pot. What made our post unique and special was all those details that we had of the family, how it is a family-run business, and how the heritages of those people affect the out the way it looks and the way it is run every day. And that is what will make your writing really special and your posts really special and appealing to people who cannot be where you are but want to go there. So it is important. Please try to be as specific as you can.
I have an example from 2 days ago when I was editing Pleasure's story about mushrooms. It's a small example, but maybe it's going to help you understand. She wrote that the mushrooms were put in a dark place. And later on, she mentioned that the mushrooms were kept in the pump house. So don't give me dark space, give me the pump house. As an editor, I can always then generalize, change it, decide that it's not important that it was the pump house. But if I don't know, I can't. So let the editor then decide what is too specific. But you yourselves be specific. Talk about the small things because that's where you can make a difference.
Very, very true. Thank you, Miha. Very, very true. That is what makes your post stand out and mean something, and actually have a reader want to keep coming back because they know they're getting from you what they cannot get anywhere else. And then also, of course, the most important thing is an equally important point to remember when you're writing is you don't have to repeat the obvious things. when you're writing. So, for example, if you're writing from Edirisa on Lake Bunyonyi, you don't have to explain what Lake Bunyonyi is because it is already clear under the account where you're writing from and where that place is. So please try to avoid repeating the obvious things. Maybe things like Uganda is in the East African region of Africa, things like that. I think that is something that anybody who comes to you has already had an idea about. So you don't need to say it again.
The
And
experience, the experience in our, how to say, struggles here was mostly with the Congonal Trail, where each and every writer wanted, to have 3 paragraphs about what the Congonal Trail is. Come on, I mean, you are on the Congonal Trail page. Of course you know, and we can't, it's boring to repeat the obvious.
True. And then also in the spirit of not repeating the obvious, also remember to try and look for the human stories of the people you're interacting with or you're going to tell. If there is someone who is on the trail or in the place you're visiting that is renowned in the area, is as they say, a local celebrity. Why are they a local celebrity? That is the person you should focus on when you're telling your story, so that the person who has never been there, if they get a chance to come there, will look out for them and will already have an idea about them.
A great recent instance was the small fish story, where in the original text we didn't have the man himself, and at the end it was, of course, the man in the center, because humans are interested in humans. We want to learn about other people. That's what we remember. So always look at the people angle at any point.
Very important, very, very important. Look at the people angle, but then also do not forget that the people who are coming to your page to read your story and also eventually to your part of the world are visitors. There are things that they would like to know that you as a person who's from the area may take for granted. Things like, for example, how much does it cost to reach a destination? How much do things cost there? Those are important. Those are important facts to always have in your stories. Or maybe where will they stay? Because not all visitors are fly by night. They probably intend to stay there for a day or two. Are there places where they can stay, and are those places safe?
Both things that David attended to, they are fundamentally important on the internet, where people are looking for answers to their questions and for useful information. Never forget that. It's good to have story, but you need to be useful.
In the end, a person is giving you their attention because you're transacting, you're giving them something back that they need, that they've been looking for. I think one of the most important things that we do and that sustains us all is that we try to inspire people who have never been to the Lake Bunyonyi area, the Congo Nile Trail, the Virungas, to come. And how do we do that? We do that by telling them stories that make them want to come there. But even as you're doing that, please try not to talk like a marketer, because that's not the point of our posts. The point of our posts is to inspire, but then also to inform in a constructive, useful way, so that we are looked at as independent observers and users of a service, and not people being paid to promote something. There's nothing that turns off people like adverts. I think those of you who watch TV, nothing irritates you more than when you're watching a program, all of a sudden to be interrupted by an advert that may go on for what seems like 10 minutes, even if it's just 2 minutes. So if you write your posts like an advert or marketing, just know that we will be ignored. So try to avoid that marketing language. People spot it from a mile away, especially people who read. And do not fear to be critical of some of these places where that we write about, as long as we are being fair. And then also another point onto that is that don't rely on books and other websites to create your content. Those books and websites have been read by hundreds and hundreds of people already. And if they find that in your content, then they will be like you're just copy and pasting and not bringing anything new. What makes Gorilla Highlands experts unique is their expertise and what they know and their mentality. So bring that in your writing and in your work, and it will make it stand out and will make it memorable. For example, I've just been reminded of the cat story. I think what made it so unique and beautiful was the details about how cats are regarded in the community as omens or even spirits and things like that, or even how to cure a cat and make it want to stay in a place. That trick of the milk. I think those are the details that make people keep coming back. So use them. Don't think that everybody knows your local beliefs and superstitions and things like that. Use them as long as they are not harmful and they do not degrade the culture you're reporting from. Also, as we are writing, please remember that Gorilla Highlands is a team. This is why Miha and I and you also should be discouraging people from using the I in your posts. We need to stop saying I went here, I have done this, I was walking here. We need to remember that when you are posting, you're posting on an account that represents Gorilla Highlands, which is a we, where it represents very many people. So try and remove that, and also keep in mind that some readers will only read one post. So if you say I, they'll wonder who are you, and why should I care about you? So it is also a trick to connect and not put off the readers. And this is also very important. When you're gathering your content, please try as much as possible to get full information, especially when the content is about people. So if you go to meet someone and he's telling you a story of their life or maybe or a place, try to find out what is their full name. What do they do? Where do they live? Are they from the area? And if possible, even you can ask them their age if they're comfortable with that. Most people are happy to tell their stories. I think one of the things that connect us all is that we like to tell our story. So don't feel shy to ask them those details about what is your name, where do you live, what do you do, things like that. Many people are usually happy to share that. And that actually also makes your piece stronger for a person who's reading it and has never been to the place or wants to believe what you're presenting to them.
And don't be shy to include the exact things these people are saying. That is a quote. Any story gets richer if you can actually hear the real words of people who are part of it. Like, ideally, you would have 2 to 3 quotes with every story. It's not always possible, but it's very welcome. I mean, it might feel a little bit odd at first. It might mean extra work, but it really takes your story to the next level
if you have quotes from people.
Yes, very important, very, very important. And then also maybe in relation to being how real your story is made by quoting people in their own language, in their own manner, speech mannerisms, is another point that please try to use ChatGPT and other AI apps, artificial intelligence apps, as an aid, as like a walking stick. It should not be your main. It should not be the first app. So it should not be the first tool you use when you're going to write. It should actually be the last one that you use. Just like when you're going on a hike, I think this applies to most people. Like 95% or 98% of people go on a hike. Most people are able to walk on their own, but the walking stick may be an aid for a few, but they don't not necessarily need it. So think of ChatGPT as a walking stick. It helps you to cross the line where you're unable to cross the line, but don't rely on it, and don't take it that everything it brings to you, you have to adopt it. You should know what the story you're telling, and don't let it lead you down another road, because you are a human being. You are superior to ChatGPT in spite of what we are led to believe. And I really believe that. I think people want to connect with human beings, not connect with machines or connect with apps. So don't let ChatGPT control your story. Tell the story and always guide it. And lastly, please keep an eye on how many words you're writing. I know this may seem strange after we've been struggling with getting people to expand their stories, but there's a limit to how much you can publish, and I think the limit is 2,200 characters is the most we can take. So please try to keep your stories short, but not too short. Like they say, I think it's a famous saying in journalism, something about thinking about your story like a mini skirt, short enough to get the attention, but long enough to cover the essentials.